per are sending across.
Yeah, they can unmute themselves also. They can unmute themselves also, and then they can put in the question in the chat box also. So we are live now. Good evening, everyone. This is Anish, and I'm here on behalf of the National Law Training Institute. All of you must know me by now. I've taken a lot of sessions. I got an All India rank of 17 in CLAT 2021. I started NLTI, founded NLTI in August 2022. It's been approximately 2 years now that we founded NLTI, and it since then has been growing. And Abhinav Somani is here with us today, who got an All India rank 1 of CLAT in CLAT and ALET 2023. So this session is basically about ask us anything. You have any doubts, anything and everything under the sun about your CLAT preparation, feel free to throw your doubt at us. And Abhinav, not me, of course. I am a veteran now. I don't have a lot to contribute to your CLAT preparation apart from founding NLTI and continuing with it. So we have Abhinav, our star mentor, with us today, All India Rank 1, who has been mentoring students for 2 years now. And he'll be happy to answer any question that you have, be it strategy related, how to give mocks, which mock to give, what is the frequency, how many hours to devote, from where to study from, all these things, and even very peculiar doubts. I am sure a lot of you will have very personal and peculiar doubts as well. So don't shy away from anything. This is a very safe space. Keep yourself unhinged, keep yourself unfiltered. Just use civil and parliamentary language. Don't heckle each other. All these things, very basic rules are here for the session today. Other than that, over to you, Abhinav. Let's start this session with an ice-breaking question. Do you think people can crack CLAT in 6 months? Less than 6 months are left for CLAT 2025. Like less than 180 days now. So do you think it's possible? It's practically possible to crack CLAT in less than 6 months?
Yeah, I would say it is very much possible. So I think there are two factors to consider here. So I have plenty of batchmates at NLS with me who started preparing in these last 6 months. So I would say yes, that even if you haven't done much, or let's say, God forbid, you haven't done anything up until this point, I would say it is still very much possible to crack CLAT. For me personally, in my experience, I would not say that I had not done anything until the last 6 months, but yeah, it was very minimal. Like I used to read the newspaper, and that was about it. So the majority of my preparation, I would say, was concentrated in the last. So I would say that yeah, cracking CLAT in the last 6 months is very much possible. You just have to get serious with it. So if you have been doing it very on and off until now, that won't work. If you want to do it in 6 months, then you have to be very, very rigorous with it.
Right. Guys, I have run out of questions. I only prepared one question for this session. So, anyone, please take this lead. Please show that you are the leader of tomorrow. Please come, like unmute yourself and ask any question that you have.
Uh,
Students already enrolled with NLT are also encouraged to take the lead. But other than that, anyone, please unmute yourself and ask any
can
question.
I?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is Mansha. So I have a very a very serious question that right now my mock marks are like around 50 and like around 60. Okay, and recently I got 71. That paper was easy, that's why. But if I'm getting such marks, so still if I like prepare very I'm not consistent with my preparation, right? That's why I'm getting such marks. So is it possible that I can get like good marks in mocks like during the these 6 month preparation?
Sorry. So as I was saying, as you just said, you said it yourself, you are not very consistent with your preparation. And as I said in the answer to Anisha's question, yeah, I think that 6 months are, I would say, a lot more than enough, considering that you have already breached 70 in a mock once. I think, yeah, you just need to work consistently, and 60 should become 90 or even 100 in no time. So yeah, I would say that if you are already sitting at that level, then taking it to that will only require a little hard work. Okay, so I'll just go to the chat once. I have two questions. Anmol says how to cover backlog. So for GK, I have found that the best way to cover backlog is to make a GK revision calendar. So now this is what a few friends of mine did. So they used to have two timetables for revision. One was their normal timetable, which said, okay, Monday I will do CR sectionals, Tuesday I will do legal sectionals, etc., etc. But alongside that, they also had a GK revision calendar. So what that said, for example, is in the first week of June, I will revise January's and February's GK. In the second week of June, I will revise March's GK. In the third week of June, I will revise April's GK. In the fourth week of June, I will revise May's GK. And on the last day of June, on 30 June, I will sit again and I will revise all these 5 months of GK in one go. So I would say create a separate GK calendar along with your normal preparation calendar. Set realistic goals for yourself. Now, what I said, cover 1 month in a day. I know that's not very doable, at least not at this stage when you are probably uh, revising for the first time, right? But I would, so at this point, you can set something like I will cover perhaps it could be something like I will cover January, February, and March along with June in June, and then I will do April, May, June along with July in July. So set more realistic targets for yourself, and accordingly, you will be able to cover your backlog, right? Now, how about current affairs? How do you ascertain what topics are important? What are the
Abhinav, I'm
topics?
really sorry to interrupt you. So I'll be leaving the session. Just go on with answering the questions, right? If there's anything, you can text me on WhatsApp.
Yep, yep, works.
Cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. How about CA? How do you ascertain what topics are important? Apart from that, what other topics proximate to the theme and the objective facts within? So two parts to this question. One, how do you ascertain what topics are important? I think so. There's no formula for ascertaining it. That's one thing I can say for sure. I think the method for ascertaining is that one is that over time you just get a feel for it. Now, I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but what I would say and what you yourself will observe in perhaps 2 to 3 months down the line is that you will see a topic and you can say with certainty that yes, this topic is relevant for CLAT, or no, this topic is not relevant for CLAT. But how do you develop that feel? That feel comes from firstly, and I would say most importantly, looking at the questions they ask in mocks, right? So if you perhaps have looked at the past question papers, or even if you haven't looked at the past question papers, if you have looked at least um I'll just close the chat. It's a lot of messages. Yeah. So if you have at least looked at the past question papers, or even if not the past question papers, if you're looking at least at mocks currently, I would say mocks help quite a bit in understanding what kinds of questions are asked. So let's say the most hot topic right now is of course elections, right? So now of course there's 100 different things to cover in elections. So you might be thinking, okay, elections, but what do I do in elections? So here, to understand, just look at what questions are asked in your mocks about elections. So whatever your mocks ask about elections, that is what you can take to be relevant. Now the second part of the question was how about the topics in proximity. I would say here, be curious, but don't be too curious. Uh, what I mean by that is you should not restrict yourself very strictly to elections. So let us say you're looking at the current elections, right? That does not mean that you will stick to that one election and you will not look around. What you should also be curious about is, let's say, who won the first election? I mean, a very easy question, but still, this is something you should be aware of. Then, okay, so since this is a coalition government, when was India's first coalition government formed? Then the next question could be perhaps, okay, do any of you know actually which was India's first coalition government? You can just answer in the chat box. But anyway, so other things you should know is like, who is the current chief election commissioner? Um, Oh no, okay, I don't know about 1946, but 1946. I meant post independence. Okay, so those who are saying Janta Party and Morarji Desai, I'm afraid to tell you that you are wrong, because the Janta Party was not a coalition government; it was a party. So yeah, a lots of different parties came together and formed a government, but that does not make it a coalition government. They still had a majority, right? I think the first government was of Chaudhry Charan Singh, the one which followed the Janta government. It was the Chaudhry Charan Singh government which was India's first coalition government, right? Okay. Anyway, that's beside the point. Uh, oh God, yeah. So as I was saying, you should be curious, but you should not be so curious as to think that, okay, who was the person, who was the candidate from the Communist Party of India who ran against Nehru in his constituency. Something so extremely specific is not relevant. So perhaps the principle that one can draw from this is that you have to be curious, but curious to the extent that it is relevant to the current issue. So as I said, since the current government is a coalition government, you have to be curious about coalition governments. Since there were a lot of allegations about the election commission's alleged ineffectiveness, you have to be very curious about the election commission. So be curious, but be curious in a measured manner, right?
Excuse
uh,
me, Bhaiya.
all right. Uh-huh.
What I wanted to ask you was, in the mocks, we have these critical reasoning questions, and in those questions, what happens is sometimes the options given in the answer key is very close to the option you have chosen, and then they seem very dubious because the explanations are often like they just choosing one option, and there does not seem any coherent reason why they chose that option. And then when we ask that teacher, they just force that option upon us. They are like, "नहीं भाई यही answer है." Like that often happens to me at least. So how do I like understand properly why one option should be correct and why the other option should not be correct?
That is a good question. And yeah, I would say this is a problem that I have faced a lot myself, because, yeah, I mean, both the options are very close to each other. But yeah, I mean, there's no real reason for picking one over the other. But the answer key chooses one, and then it does not really justify why this is the correct answer and why this is not the correct answer. So yeah, I can say that yes, I have faced this issue quite a lot myself. Now, the only solace which I can give you perhaps in this situation is that in all the CLAT papers that I have seen, the critical reasoning section tends to be very well made. There tend to be no such very obvious mistakes. But yeah, that's really all the solace I can offer. I mean, yeah, mock makers do make mistakes. I mean, it is a very tough job. And yeah, especially for CR, you often, I mean, I'm not trying to justify mistakes in mock papers, right? Even I know how frustrating it can be that they do not even give any reason that, okay, option B is correct, but why is option C incorrect? I know it feels very frustrating. But the best you can do in such a situation is hope that actual CLAT will not have any such mistakes. If you want to solve very high quality CR, like if you're, थक गए क्लैट सीआर से कि नहीं यार, आई कांट डील विद क्लैट सीआर एनी मोर, आई जस्ट वांट टू do perfect CR, then you can try to solve GMAT. GMAT tends to have like very high quality CR questions, and like I'm sure you can find GMAT textbooks very easily. So yeah, if you want to solve like very high quality CR, you can always try GMAT. I'm sure a good number of you must have tried it already, right?
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you.
Yep. So the next question which I can see is, I've been preparing for CLAT and elite since yeah, preparing for
Hello,
CLAT
hello.
and elite since a year, but I'm unable to understand. My marks are still in 60s even when I am practicing questions and passages daily. What should I do for that? I mean, the oops. Yeah. So the answer is not to just mindlessly practice questions, right? If mindless, I mean, practice is extremely important. I would say that in your CLAT preparation, 90% of it is just how much you practice and how much effort you put into practice. But this practice should not be mindless, right? Like, okay, so this is a metaphor, which not a metaphor, an analogy which I came up with and I'm very proud of. So you can bang your head against the wall for 10 hours, but the wall won't break. But if you do it with a jackhammer for just 10 minutes, the wall will break immediately, right? So when practicing, you just have to be careful. Guys, please mute yourself. Yeah. So as I was saying, um, while practicing is very important, you must take a care to understand where you are going wrong. Then practice specifically those sections where you are going wrong, and then I think you will see your scores increasing. So identify where it is that you are lacking, and then work on it accordingly. Mm, yaar, who is unmuted? Kindly mute yourself.
My
Acha.
doubt is like, do we need to?
Sorry, who spoke? Could you just repeat?
Yes, I'm having two doubts. So my first doubt is like, what's up with the strategy of like mock frequency? Do we need to give like one mock daily as only 5 months are left, or we can just practice sectional test or like one mock on a Sunday? And my second doubt is like, how many sources uh, should be the minimum amount? Because as a CLAT aspirant, like we tend to like look around for a maximum amount of sources. Like we'll do CLAT Express, CLAT Push, and everything else. But like when it comes to revision, we actually forget everything and we don't like revising stuff. So what would be the right strategy for GK and like mock frequency?
Okay, so I'll go one by one. So the first question about the mock frequency, I would say that there is no one answer to this, but I think I can very categorically say that at this stage you should not. I mean, of course, there can be some situations, but mostly you should not be giving one mock a day at this point, for the simple reason that you'll get burnt out with it. So I had this one mock a day regimen in October and like about half of November when CLAT was hardly 1 or 2 months away. At this point, I would recommend against giving one mock a day unless you are truly exceptional. um but so yeah, as I was saying, there is no one answer to this. So there can be two kinds of strategies. So for me, I was always very lazy in solving sectionals. I didn't like I saw the point of solving sectionals, but I didn't enjoy giving sectionals. I really like giving mocks, right? Because you get a rank and everything. So when giving mocks, at this point, as I said in the first question, I started preparing seriously in June. So at this point, I gave like one mock a week. Later, as time progressed, I gradually increased it up to um, two mocks, three mocks, and eventually by October it was like eight mocks a week. But that was in October when CLAT was only 2 months away. Now coming to your question of, should you give more mocks or should you give sectionals or how? I think the ideal strategy is to just have a balance between the two. So yeah, I was a person who had a very mock heavy approach. Then I had a friend who is also an NLS who also has a single digits rank. This person had a very sectional heavy strategy. He gave only 2 or 3 mocks every week, but he gave tons and tons and tons of sectionals. And as I'm telling you, he has a single digit rank. So I would say maybe try out both, right? So at this point, since I would not recommend giving too many mocks, perhaps you can try to strike a balance between them. Maybe about 1 or 2 months down the line, you can try experimenting. Firstly, you can try for a sectional heavy approach, see how it affects your mocks, whether it your scores, whether it affects them positively or adversely. Second, then perhaps in for the 2 weeks after that, try a mock heavy approach, see how it affects your scores positively or adversely, and accordingly you can decide. Because yeah, there is no one strategy that fits everyone. But just one thing which you should be a little careful about is that it is not about the number of mocks you give, right? So a person can give 300 mocks while preparing for CLAT, but still not get in, because a lot, while giving mocks is important, it is equally important to analyze the mock. So this is what I said a while earlier as well, that it is about understanding where you are going wrong and working on when you are going wrong, rather than just giving mock after mock after mock. You can give 1,000 mocks, but if you don't understand where you are going wrong, then you will always be stuck at that same score. So yeah, that was the first part of your question. Now coming to the second part of your question, you had asked about the sources for GK. So again, there's no one size fits all approach. And again, I have an example. This is from the same friend which I talked about, who had a very sectional heavy approach. He used to do, and I am not exaggerating when I say this, he used to do 14 to 15 sources for GK. I was on the other extreme. I did 3 sources for GK. So again, I think, I mean, he had a much better score than me in GK, but yeah, ultimately both of us ended up in the same college. So I would say that find what works for you. So this was a guy who loved GK, so he could actually do that much. I think most people, myself included, got tired of GK pretty quickly and could not do that many sources even if they wanted to. So to my mentees in NLTI, what I always recommend is like do 3 sources, but do 3 sources very religiously. Now, out of these 3 sources, what these 3 sources were for me was, one was the Hindu. I used to read the Hindu very regularly, and I used to make like typed notes from it. So I had the e version of the Hindu, and like it was searchable. So I just used to copy and paste on a doc. And so the second was the Indian Express. For GK purposes, the only relevant section from the Indian Express was the explained section. So if any of you have seen the reel on NLTI's Instagram page, and if you don't follow it, you should go and follow NLTI's Instagram page. But yeah, if you've seen the reel, Anish is questioning me about how I used to read the Indian Express. So you should go and see that reel. But just to tell you very briefly here, the Indian Express's explained section is extremely helpful. It covers very important topics in very good detail. So I used to make handwritten notes from that. And my third source would be any GK compendium. So just pick up any compendium and do it regularly. So these were the 3 sources which I used to do. So I know the number of sources was small, but I did these 3 sources very regularly, and I think that helped me. So the strategy which I give to most people, and of course, if you have the bandwidth to do 15 sources, that is best, right? There is nothing better. But the I think most people don't have the bandwidth and mental energy to do 15 sources. So what I recommend to all of my mentees in in my mentorship group is just do 15, do these 3 sources. Out of those 3 sources, one should be a newspaper, and do these 3 sources very regularly. So yeah, because the thing with GK is, as you said, as whoever asked the question said, you look in 100 different directions, right? You can do this, you can do that, you can look at this UPSC magazine, you can look at that UPSC magazine, you can do 500 sources if you want to. I mean, again, another saying that I've come up with, which I'm very proud of, is you can do GK for 25 hours in a day, but you will and still never be able to catch up with all the GK because there's just so much. So you have to know when to stop. And I think this 3 source strategy worked for me. If you have the time for 15, go ahead and do it. If you don't, do 3, but do 3 very religiously. Right. Okay, I'll go to the chat box. Lots of questions.
Excuse me.
Okay. How do I improve my CR section? I'm scoring really badly. CR is all about practice, practice, and practice. I mean, especially CR and QT, both of these are just extremely practice heavy sections. The more you practice, the better you get at it. If your scores are not improving even after practicing, then that means that you are not very clear in your concepts. So yeah, just go on, practice your concepts, identify that okay, perhaps you are consistently getting assumption questions wrong, or perhaps you are consistently getting strengthening and weakening questions wrong. So identify where is that one focal point where you are consistently making mistakes, and accordingly work on it. And I think your CR scores should improve. Uh, um, um, okay. What if no extensive notes have been made? It's not too late to start. I would say the most important portion for GK for CLAT tends to be June to November, right? So since CLAT is held in December, and since this year it's on 1 December, I would say 1 June to 15 November. Since after 15 November they'll have to print the paper and everything, I would say 1 June to 15 November should be the most important portion. So yeah, it's fine if you haven't made very good notes until now. January to May tend to be less important, but going forward, make sure to do GK very rigorously. How did you prepare GK for 2023? Yeah, 2020. The thing about 2023 GK was that even if you had done 15 sources, you could not answer a lot of the questions, right? That was the funny thing about the 2023 GK. So yeah. How did I do 2023 GK? A lot of it was just luck, to be very honest with you. But yeah, as I was saying, just do these three sources very religiously and then just have faith in yourself, right? So, the first, so when I saw the 2023 GK and I saw that question about which president's son is playing in the USA team, for a second I was like, oh God, what have they asked? But then I said, okay, if this is a weird question for me, I'm sure this is a very weird question for everyone. I'm sure 99% of CLAT aspirants do not know who this president was and what not, what all, right? So just be confident, leave the question, right? Uh, 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 so many messages. Oops. Just 1 second. Um,
Hello, Abhinav. Hello.
yeah, please go ahead.
Myself, Visi, and
Mm-hmm.
this I will give my second
Yeah, please continue.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I had a doubt that in mock tests, should we like at this point consider accuracy or number of attempts, like at the given point?
Depends on the number of attempts you're already making, right? So if you're already consistently making 110 plus attempts, then yes, you should very well focus on accuracy. But if you're not able to consistently cross 100 attempts in every mock, then you should focus more on attempts than on accuracy. So once you begin comfortably crossing 110 attempts in every mock, then you need to start focusing on accuracy. Until then, focus on getting your number of attempts up. My mock score is between 40 to 50. What should I do to improve? um oh God, yeah, this is keep scrolling. So as I was saying, identify which section you are weak in and start working on those sections. So perhaps you guys can divide the next coming months in this manner. June, July, and August, you can just focus heavily on getting all your concepts clear. So this is for those who haven't started preparation till date or till they are struggling with low mock scores. So for now, just focus on getting all your individual subjects strong for June, July, and August, and maybe September, October, and November. Practice, practice, and practice. But throughout, make sure to keep doing GK. This is only for those who are at a very baseline level right now. For those who are at more advanced levels, um, just just work on eliminating very particular weaknesses and just start crazily practicing. I have just CLAT and ALET. So our thing mine is how to go about and give a good start to your preparation. So if you are in 11th, you have just started your preparation. How to give a good start. That's a unique. Okay, that's not a question I get very often. How to give a good start to your preparation? I think maybe start by instilling a few habits, right? So, first, make it a habit to read the newspaper, definitely. Then, perhaps you could start by giving one mock a week, if that suits you. I think giving a one mock a week should be helpful. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, just firstly, make it a habit to do GK, even though this year's GK is not necessarily relevant to you. Just making it a habit right from this year will be very helpful when next year's GK is actually relevant to you. Then again, since you have 1 year to go, I mean 2 years to go until your CLAT, just start working on your subjects right from now, right? So at this point, you can even afford to like very leisurely devote months and months to each subject. So like nicely give 2 months to QT, learn all the concepts. Give 1 month to CR, learn all the concepts, and this way, just try that before you get into 12th, you you know how to study GK and all your subjects are good. So in 12th, you will be able to do CLAT with a lot of ease as compared to someone who has, let's say, started preparing in 12th. Right. My marks are stuck between 75 to 80. How can I improve it? Firstly, I would say 75 to 80 are really good marks out of a 120 mark paper. But to improve it, yeah, just identify a weak section and work on it. I mean, okay, so for everyone who is asking me how can I improve it, my marks are this to this. All I can say is identify your weak sections and work on them because that is all the data I have. Uh, I read the Hindu on a daily basis. Is that sufficient to cover GK section? Yes, I would say so. I mean, if GK is like last year, if it's like RC, then you don't even need to read the Hindu. But since there's no guarantee on what GK will look like, then yeah, I would say reading the Hindu on a daily basis is good enough. Maybe just to be safe, you also want to add in one GK compendium just to be safe. Generally, I would say on its own, the Hindu is a very good source, but adding in one compendium is also good in case there is something the newspaper missed. Did you make notes for GK? If yes, how did you divide them topic wise, theme based, or month based? Also, in what depth did you cover them? Right. So I really had two sets of notes for GK, right? One of them was the daily reading notes, which I made for from the Hindu. So these I would say were they were day based, if that makes sense. But the other set of notes which I made from the Indian Express were theme based, topic based, right? So I made so let's say a topic was covered in the explained section. So I made handwritten notes from it. Then I added to it from my Hindu notes. Then I added to it from my compendium. So I made good topic wise notes. In what depth did you cover them? I mean, it depends, right, on how important the topic is. If it's a very important topic, like elections, then definitely you have to cover it in very good depth. If it's a very passing topic like okay, I can't think of an example for a passing topic, and I don't want to say something is a passing topic only for there to be a question on it later. But yeah, if you feel that okay, a topic is not important and you don't have to go very in depth in it. Yeah, I think there was someone saying something.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. So can you tell about something how to do we vocab मतलब हम लोग कैसे कर सकते हैं और मतलब उसको रेगुलर बेसिस हम लोग रिवाइज कैसे कर सकते हैं भैया?
Vocab के लिए the biggest part is to definitely just reading as much as you can. So this applies both for those who are poor at vocab and those who are good at vocab but not that good at reading. I would say the answer is just read and read. Like the more you read, the more you keep reading and reading and reading, the more vocab you will learn and the more fluent you will get at processing the language. Then again, if you specifically have a problem at vocab, then something like I think Word Power Made Easy could help. I think that's a very good book. I personally never read it, but a lot of my friends have read it, and I think reading Word Power Made Easy has helped a lot of people with vocab. Apart from that, yeah, so maybe if you come across a new word in the newspaper or in a mock, just write it down and perhaps go over it from time to time. Try to bring it in into your daily conversation. When you write down a word, make sure to write it down with its usage in a sentence. Just writing down a word that XYZ means ABC, that will not help you remember it. But when you, let's say, write it down in a sentence and like make a sentence of your own and fit that word into it, that will help you remember it a lot better. In CR, I
Hi
can,
भैया.
Bhaiya,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
I actually have two doubts. So the first is, can you tell us how exactly we are supposed to analyze our mocks? And the second I have is, let's say right now it's 6 months before CLAT. So for example, if I am at a point where it's 3 months before CLAT, what should be my average mock score then to get a good top NLU?
Uh, could you repeat the first question? I didn't get it very well.
How do we analyze our mocks?
How do you analyze your mock? So I will come to this one second. Coming to your first question, at 3 months to CLAT, what should be your mock scores? I would say don't look at your mock scores, look at your ranks. So for me, I always try to be in the top 30 to top 40 of a mock in terms of ranks. Score will vary. In some mocks, you will get 80. In some mocks, you will get 125 out of 120 even. Right? But what matters is your rank. So for me, my rank target was ideally below 30. So as long as your rank is consistently below a certain number, you're good. Now coming to how do you analyze, that is a very loaded question. So I think a lot of people have very different methods of analyzing. I'm sure I'm sure you ask any person and everyone will give you a very different method of analyzing. But for me, analyzing was about writing down my mistakes, right? So what I found is that if I just did a oral mental analysis, I forgot about my mistakes in the next 2 hours. But when I started writing down my mistakes, when I written that, okay, this is how I went wrong in this question, this is what the correct answer was, this is the reasoning I should have employed to reach the correct answer, I started remembering my mistakes. Now, no doubt, writing everything down is very tedious, but it does help quite a bit. How, okay, in CR, I can eliminate two options, but getting it wrong in the remaining option. So yeah, Harsha, there are two possibilities here. One could be that one, as I said, the two options are pretty close, and there's no real differential between them. But that is not the stance you should ideally be taking. So how do you eliminate the remaining option? I would say first look at the reasoning they have given. If the reasoning is not very clear, then just read the passage again very slowly, understand every word of it, and then come back to the question. If you still are not able to understand why B is the correct answer and C is not, then it's very much possible that the mock itself is wrong. But it's better to not take your own word for it. Maybe share it with a few aspirant friends, ask them if they also think it is wrong. If three or four of you are agreeing that the mock is wrong, then it's probably wrong. uh, 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 uh,
Excuse me
uh,
भैया.
Hello.
Hi, Bhaiya.
How can
Hello.
I manage my school with CLAT preparation?
okay, there are like four people speaking, so can everyone just put it in the chat box? I'll answer according to the chat box order. Right. uh, 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 yeah, Morarji Desai, which a lot of people got wrong. Did anyone answer correctly? Nope. Oh yeah, Prajshi said Chaudhary was after Morarji. So yeah, Chaudhary was the first coalition government. Can you please give an
Excuse me
overview on
भैया.
how? Yeah, just put your doubts in the chat box. I'll answer there. Can you please give me an overview on how to revise previous 5 months from monthly compendium and self notes and literary read one revision because the marks are falling? Make a GK revision calendar, as I said in the beginning. Um, Bhaiya, I'm not able to come to math section. How can I improve my speed? No, so for what I did for maths is when I personally put maths at the end, I was disincentivized from solving other sections quickly, right? Because when you put maths at the end, then you say that, yaar, मैथ्स वैसे भी होने तो वाला है नहीं, मैं क्यों उसके लिए 10 मिनट छोड़ूं, बाकी सेक्शन अच्छे से कर लेता हूँ. And that is again not that bad of a strategy. So maths is at max 12 marks, right? So you might think that, okay, what's the point? Even if I leave 12 marks, but I do all the rest very well, I can still get like 100 out of 120. But what I would say is that is really not the best way to think, because maths, even though it does not have a oops, yes, as I was saying, even though maths does not have a very heavy weightage on its own, it can be the section which gives you an edge over the other aspirants. So if you see, 90% of aspirants don't even turn to maths, right? But if you are the person who goes and does maths, you will be able to do pretty well at it. And like it's fine, even it's fine if you don't do all 12 of it. Even if you get like, I don't know, 5 marks out of the 12, that is still 5 marks more than 90% of aspirants are getting, because 90% of them don't even turn to maths. So my personal philosophy for maths is that I never tried to be good at it. So I was always poor at maths. After practicing, I became decent at it. I was never good at maths. Even on the day of CLAT, I am not good at maths even today. But the whole point is you don't have to be good at maths for CLAT, right? You have to be decent. So what I feel after giving CLAT and after mentoring and after seeing so many CLAT papers is that the consortium is not testing how good you are at maths. What they are testing is how quick you are at it. So if you just quicken up your calculations, if you increase your speed, everything, you will be able to extract like 5 6 marks out of maths, and that is all you need to give you this edge over the other aspirants, right? How to increase speed in solving mocks? I think it starts with forcing yourself to attempt more questions. So what a friend of mine did is he set a target for himself, right? So this is back when mocks used to have 150, the CLAT paper used to have 150 questions. So what he did was he used to force himself that in this paper, no matter what, I will attempt 140 questions. Accuracy I will see later, I will attempt 140 questions. So what that happens is, when you do, after a while, you start very comfortably you start very comfortably attempting 140 questions, or for you, in your case it can be, let's say, 110 questions or 105 questions. And once you have reached that stage, at that stage you can now start focusing on your accuracy. So how to increase speed? At this point, I think you can afford to just force yourself to attempt more questions. What is the difference between reading in English section and CR section? There's no difference. I think you have to read very carefully in both these sections. I would say, like for me at least, it was only legal where I kind of skimmed. Um, whose mock would you prefer, career launcher or legal edge? And this is the question you are asking in a NLTI session. Yeah, I think I skipped this one. Attempt NLTI mocks; those are the best. How do I improve? Okay, this repeat question, repeat question, repeat. Oh, uh, 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 how should I make my CR strong? I have answered this. Did you make?
Hi, Bhaiya.
Did Please put it in the chat box. There are a lot in the chat box already. Didn't one mock a day exhaust you? Yeah, that's what I was saying. That you can do one mock a day right now as well if you want to, but one mock a day is extremely exhausting. Like it will tire you out within a week, right? Within 1 week you'll start feeling like, oh god, I don't want to do this now, which is the whole reason why I did it only in October and November. So when CLAT is that close, you feel motivated कि नहीं नहीं करना पड़ेगा, अभी तो कॉलेज लाइफ पर है. But at this point, if you really do one mock a day, I think it will just drain you. It will burn you out. It will make you lose all desire which you had to prepare for CLAT. So I would say you can do one mock a day if you are not of biological origin. But apart from that, I would say at this point it might be difficult. If you can manage it, then genuinely hats off to you, because I would say 99% of people won't be able to do it. What was your score when you were 4 months away from CLAT? Well, my score doesn't matter because we had 150 question mocks. But my ranks used to be like 50 to 60 something. And over time, I improved it to like 30 ish. Uh, 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 what were your three sources? My three sources were the Hindu, the explained section of the Indian Express, and any one compendium. Hi Bhaiya, I am 2026 aspirant and my query is how to cover static GK and resources. I would say don't worry that much about static GK, right? So static GK does hardly has any weightage in CLAT and ALET. And like even if you look at static GK, it won't be like random static GK. The supposedly static GK will have some or the other connection to current day news. So this I think ties back to the older question that someone asked about, how much do you look in the proximity? How curious should you be? So yeah, you should be curious enough that you know the relevant static GK, but just know one thing that this supposedly static GK is never completely, it is never like completely isolated. It will be related somehow to the current affairs, because again this is not UPSC, this is CLAT. They are not testing you on history, they are testing you on GK. uh, while analyzing mock, I tend to find that often my reasoning is wrong rather than a specific type of question. How do I effectively mitigate my mistakes in my successive mocks? Yeah, I would say the answer is again writing it down, right? So when you write down your mistakes, whoever is speaking, please mute yourself. Yes, as I was saying, the answer is really writing down your mistakes. So when you write it down, you remember that okay, in the previous mock, I had made a similar mistake. I had made this mistake in reasoning. Write it down. So okay, this is what I got in reasoning. This is what I reasoned. What I reasoned was XYZ. XYZ is incorrect because ABC. The correct reasoning is PQR. PQR is correct because 1, 2, 3. So it's very boring. It's extremely tedious, but it's very helpful. I think this is like while I will tell you that there are hundreds of different ways of analyzing. This is what I found to be the most effective for me. Very boring, very dreadening, a lot of drudgery, but very helpful. Do you have marks versus rank for 2023? I don't know what that means. What's the third one? The third one is any one compendium. The third GK source. Uh, 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 Oops, sorry. Did I go back? Oh yeah. Um, Whenever my marks fall even 0.25 marks or doesn't increase, I start to doubt myself. I start to doubt my capabilities. Yeah, no, this is not a weird question. This is okay. Sorry, I missed one question. How to make GK notes? Also, how to analyze mocks is 70 a decent score to begin with. How to make GK notes? Just start making them. I mean, there's I don't know how do you make GK notes? That's a very good question. I would say if you know any other aspirants, perhaps ask them to share their sample notes for 2, 3 topics. Look at how they make notes and try that. Otherwise, so like I personally did not follow any person's method. My note GK notes were not very aesthetic. I just info dumped on a page whatever I thought was relevant. I wrote down in points. I used like various colors because my handwriting is very ugly and I did not feel like looking at it unless I had used multiple colors. So I would say, how do you make GK notes? Just start making them. I'm sure that within 1 week you'll figure out what works for you. Because yeah, again, I think for 90% of questions related to CLAT, the simple answer is that there is no one answer. Right. How to analyze mocks? I've answered is 70 a decent score to begin with. 70 is a very good score to begin with. Yeah. So whenever my marks fall even by 0.25 marks, I start to doubt myself. So yeah, I would say no, this is not a weird question. This is a very valid question, I think. And this is only going to increase, right? So as you get closer to CLAT, a lot more of you will start feeling this pressure if you're not feeling it already. What should you do? I mean, see, you cannot do much to make CLAT less stressful, right? It's an entrance exam. Entrance exam will be stressful. So perhaps what you should do in such a situation is find things outside of CLAT which make life less stressful, right? So for me, I had a nice pre-mock routine which put me in a very good mood. And in general, so I tried to be with my family. If a mock went poorly, I just, it's not like I stopped studying for that day. I still got back to studying, but I spent time with my family. I spent time with my friends. I took my dog for a walk. This was one of a very good stress buster for me. Now I don't know how many of you have pets, but just find something which helps you release the pressure, because yeah, this is going to happen with increasing frequency. uh for legal, after covering all the basics, what should be the next thing to do? Start solving sectionals. I mean, if you know all the theory, then it's high time to start solving sectionals and giving mocks. Uh, 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 um, okay, lots of revised, sorry, repeat questions. How did you make your notes from newspaper? So, as I said, my Hindu notes were day wise, and then my Indian Express notes were topic wise, and I used to add my Hindu notes to my Indian Express notes. Oh God. Uh, okay, I'm just going one by one. I just started my preparation. I think I have addressed this before as well. How to tackle QT, I have addressed this. How to get over indecisiveness. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. That you, I choose option A, but then after 5 minutes I choose option B, but it turns out option A was correct. Yeah, so this is something which I was asked recently as well by one of my mentees. And it's a very good question, but I think the answer to this is, do not go back and change your answer unless you are 99% certain that your previous answer was incorrect. Um, because what happens is, when you have just read the passage, it is fresh, it is the most clear in your mind, and your most, and your answers are most likely to be right. But later, as you think more about it, it gets muddled in your mind, and you are likely to confuse it up, and then other options will start seeming to be correct. So what I personally did was, once I had ticked an option, I did not come back to it unless and until I was absolutely sure that no, what I had marked earlier is incorrect. I mean, you can't be absolutely sure, unless and until I was 99% sure. That 1% hesitancy will always remain. But unless you are very, very sure, don't go back. Make it a principle. How do I start ALET prep? So, like, ALET prep is mostly the same as CLAT prep. I think the only two things that change is, one, that you have to start doing some analytical reasoning, and second is one liner GK. Now, I personally did not do anything different for one liner GK. It was the same as CLAT GK. But if you have the time, then yeah, you can practice one liner GK as well. Okay, someone said Lamau. Okay. How can I improve my GK score? Yeah, GK score is an extremely complicated thing. I don't think there is any person here who can say that they have done consistently well in GK in every mock. So I would say, don't worry about your GK score. I bombed in GK in every single mock up until the final exam, where very I didn't do very poorly, but I did not do that well either. So I would say, for GK, don't worry about your score. Just make sure that you are doing your sources very religiously. And if you, let's say, come across a topic in a mock which you haven't covered, but you feel that this is an important topic, make sure to go back and cover it. How to work on QT? I have done this before. I mean, I've addressed this before. Revision strategy for your newspaper notes: just read them over and over. It helps in retention. How to deal with low mock marks? Okay, I think I've addressed this in bits and pieces until now. But yeah, I mean, first is, don't get discouraged, right? Like, your mock scores are not equivalent to your rank in the final exam. For example, I never got a rank 1 in any mock I ever gave. I think I must have given 100 plus mocks, but I never got a. I think I got a single digit rank once or twice, and I never got a rank 1 ever. And even I gave like 3 All India Open mocks, and my rank was like 30, 50, and 80. So it actually fell across AIOMs. But what I would say is that your mock scores don't necessarily have a correlation with reality. Of course, it's not that they're utterly unrelated. So if until now you are consistently getting 5,000 rank in mocks, then you can't expect to go and get a single digit rank in CLAT. But as long as you are doing reasonably well in your mocks, don't worry too much about what your final result will look like. Just be confident and give your best on the final day. Now, secondly, how to deal with it in the actual section wise thing. Identify which section is it exactly where you are doing poorly, and then work on that section. um I'm getting ranks in different range in mocks of different coachings. Please solve this paradox. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, it does happen, right? So, okay, yeah. How do I answer this question? Okay, I'll get back to this question. Uh, oh God. This is my second attempt. I'm not doing any coaching this year, neither I have any test series. I would say it's not. I would say get a test series at least. Get one test series, one good test series. So at least you can keep giving mocks regularly, and you will at least have an idea of how you are doing at a national level. How to revise compendium? Please answer. For me, it was just like I used to highlight while reading for the first time, and later I used to go back and read the highlights. Is 85 plus on an average good? Yes, it's very good. How can I raise my stagnant scores? Identify the section which at which you are poor. What is the attitude and general fear factor in the exam hall? Everyone is scared, but what you should tell yourself that others are more scared than me. So just boost your ego in your own mind, and I think you should be good. How does one keep a cool mind when attempting the actual CLAT? As I said, just keep boosting your own ego in your own mind, and I think that should be good enough. लीगल में बहुत टाइम लग जाता है, 8 minutes per passage, no matter what. Okay, so I feel that two
भैया
things.
आपको वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है.
Acha, sorry. So as I was saying that taking more time in legal is not a bad thing, because legal is ultimately the tie-breaking section. And if you have a paper like CLAT 2024, when there were so many people at the same score, legal can make the difference between two colleges. But if 8 minutes per passage is, I do feel a bit much. I would say in legal, don't read the passage with an aim to understand it, right? So legal passages tend to be like 500 to 600 words. So you don't have to read the whole passage, just underline the legal principle while reading. And after reading the question, just quickly refer back to the passage. Because, yeah, legal passages tend to be very information heavy. You might have to refer back to the passage anyway, even if you've understood all of it. So it's better to just skim through it, underline or highlight the relevant sections, and then come back to it as needed. Uh, Not able to enhance my reading streak, stuck in 180 words per minute. I don't know if 180 words per minute is a good or a bad reading speed, but if you are able to cover, if you are able to do the passages in the relevant time, in however much time you want, then words per minute does not matter. What should be the score to get into NLS Bangalore? Yeah, it varies from year to year. What should be a safe score? 120. Why not? Aim for 120 out of 120. That is the safest score. For maths, RSMs are good. I think they should be. I mean, I've never solved them, but I I see no reason why they should not be good. I fear math. Guys, please mute yourself. Uh, how I yeah, so as I was saying about math, you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be god at it. I am sure most of you picked CLAT because you did not want to do JEE and NEET, and both of those require maths. So again, as I said, you have to be decent at maths. You just have to like extract 6 or 7 marks from it. So in CLAT 2023, I attempted 8 maths questions because I knew that I don't know any more than this. So I thought, instead of wasting my time on more maths than I know, I will just specifically attempt those questions that I know, but extract marks from it in as little time as possible. So I gave like 10-15 minutes to maths. I got 8 marks out of it, and that's all. So you don't have to be good at it, just be decent at it. Everyone hates, I mean, 99% of CLAT aspirants hate maths, but again, you can keep hating maths while also being decent at it, right? Beginner approach for legal reasoning in terms of theory and for attempting legal. I would say you don't need to know theory for actually attempting the legal reasoning section. Knowing theory definitely helps a lot, but you don't need to know it. So I would say probably start practicing legal right away, and side by side just start learning theory as well. Theory should be like fairly basic, and like the concepts you should cover should be torts, contracts, family law, criminal law, constitutional law. That's all I can think of. And like even these just do very, very surface level, right? Like not in detail at all. You attempt GK even if you don't know what the right answer is. How do you control it? Self control. That's all I can say. Like I know the urge to just like randomly tick CC, and when it does work out every once in a while, that does feel good. But and yeah, I mean this is a very valid strategy to do in a mock, but I feel this is not something that you should probably take the risk of doing in the final paper. So probably you should not. So probably you should make it a habit to not do this in your mocks itself. And this is me saying this, even though I did the same up until September, and I had a very hard time getting rid of this habit. So that is why I'm telling you from now, just don't do it because it's not worth doing it in the final paper. आप क्लैट प्रिपरेशन के टाइम सेल्फ स्टडी करते थे या कुछ क्लासेस क्लासेस प्लस सेल्फ स्टडी? Okay. um Very long message. Yeah. So yeah, I would say just experiment around, like to speak very generally, experiment around. So the pattern which I settled on after a lot of experimentation was English and GK, followed by one set of QT, then legal, followed by one set of QT, and logical, followed by the last set of QT. Now, this was not like set in stone. On the final day, in fact, this I did not follow this pattern to the T. On the final day, what I did was English, GK, legal, first set of QT. Then I saw that, okay, QT is actually quite difficult. So I did legal and logical in one go, and I just gave the remaining time to the other two QT sets. So yeah, I would say just experiment around. There is no one set pattern. So I think a lot of people, at least who I know, have tried implementing this pattern in their mocks, and it does work out very well. But it doesn't have to work that well for you. So just experiment around a lot. You have 6 months to go. You can afford to experiment. Find what works for you and then stick with it, right? Uh, Beginner approach for legal reasoning. I've already covered this. Uh, 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 um, Oh God. How do you overcome this disheartening feeling of not doing well? I would say, I mean, yeah, just tell yourself that this is just a mock, right? So, as I said, that there is some degree of correlation between your mocks and your rank in actual CLAT, but it's not uh, like you do poorly in a mock, in one mock, which means that you will mean that you do poorly in the actual CLAT as well. So, yeah, just, I mean, so this is again something a friend of mine used to do. I think some of you might know who I'm talking about if you've seen some CLAT interviews on YouTube. But what this guy did was that before every mock, he used to treat it like, oh, this is the actual exam. This is the actual exam. He used to hype himself up. So he got into that mindset. But after the mock, he used to say, oh, this is just a mock. Oh, this is just a mock. Right. So if the mock went very well, he did not go flying. He kept his tempo because, well, it is just a mock. And even if he did very poorly, he did not go down in the dumps because, yeah, it is just a mock, right? It is not the actual paper. So I think this might help. And yeah, again, I know it gets very stressful, especially in the final few months. It's horrible. So yeah, just find ways to reduce the stress. CLAT is only going to get more stressful. I don't think you can reduce the stress that CLAT brings. Maybe try to find external ways to make it less stressful. I think having a study group goes a long way in making it less stressful. Is it possible to get 120 out of 120? It works. Um, I mean, yeah, technically speaking, it is possible, but I would say no. It's in all likeliness you cannot get 120 on 120. So if there are people getting 120 legal box, then yeah, they are probably cheating. Probably, I mean, they could also be just divinely ordained. But most, it's probable that they are cheating, and it's best to just ignore their scores, right? uh you lose accuracy and focus till you get to the end. Keep practicing. So like the more mocks you give over time, you just increase your mock giving capacity, right? uh if you're doing CLAT Express and newspaper at this point, I think that's good enough. Even if you are not able to purchase any resources, like all these UPSC websites are free, right? And they give you a lot of information at one place. So just make sure to not have everything, like not like nab everything from these UPSC websites, because of course they carry a lot of they give you a lot of information. But yeah, they are a very good source if you are not in a position to buy any resources, right? What things for covering most of CA I've already covered. I've already given my GK strategy. You can just go back to the session and see it. um, I have at class 11 right now. I want to give CLAT this year. I have just 5 months. I mean, if you are in class 11 right now, then this is just a practice CLAT anyway, right? But okay, if you want to give it seriously, how do you approach every subject? So yeah, as I said, like 6 months are good enough to complete CLAT syllabus. How do you do it? Yeah, just as I said, perhaps you could do something like, again, this is just a suggestion. This is not something I have ever tried myself. But if you are on ground zero, then I think, sorry, square zero, then I think this should be a good strategy, helpful in solving. Probably dedicate June to two subjects, July to two subjects, and August onwards just practice, practice, and practice. And throughout, of course, just practice all these. Keep practicing GK. I mean, like keep covering GK. Right. How do I increase my sitting time? Sitting for 2 hours seems so tough. It's all about willpower. It's all about your self discipline. That's all I can say. I mean, I don't know. Sitting for 2 hours never seemed so tough to me. Like before I knew it, the 2 hours were up and the mock time was done. So I don't think I'm the best person to answer this question. Should I do GMAT question? Sure, they are good for conceptual clarity. So unable to, if you are not able to, uh, if you are sorry, what I was saying, just it's all jumbled after speaking so much. But yeah, as I was saying, if you do not have conceptual clarity in logical reasoning, then yeah, you can do GMAT questions. Can you recommend a book? Yeah, I really don't know much about books. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not the best person to answer this. Would you rather recommend giving sectionals or solving mocks? As I said, both are very, very valid strategies. Try, see what works for you. How to self study for CLAT? Make a timetable and stick to it. I mean, I think whether you are doing self study or whether you are in a coaching, I think having a timetable and sticking to it is a very short strategy. What used to be your daily routine in your aspirant phase? I don't know. I don't know what it was at in June. I am a school going student and my school is troubling me. So honestly, I did not pay much attention to my school. Luckily, my school was understanding, or I don't know if they were understanding because I just stopped going to school after a point, and I said, okay, I'll see after CLAT. I'm like, I knew that they would like that attendance would fall below 75%. So after a point, I just stopped attending school. I thought, okay, yaar, we'll see after CLAT. Right now, CLAT is the most important. Right. Should I learn literary devices for English? Sure. No harm in it. I mean, should I do co-curricular activities with CLAT? Yes, you should. CLAT should not become your life. I mean, it will become your life anyway once it draws nearer. But since it is still 6 months away, please, please, please do much more than CLAT. What was your 12th percentage? It was 97.4% in humanities. Okay, I think that's the last of the questions, Anish. I think we can wrap this up. Um, okay, I think Anish was here. I'll just message him. And uh, 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 uh,
Hello. Hi, Abhinav.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, how's the session?
I'm tired of speaking so much, but I hope it
Yeah,
was helpful to all of them.
yeah, guys. So we hope you liked the session and you got to learn something from it, and it was fruitful for us to take out time and take this session. I hope most of you got your queries answered. If still you have some queries, feel free to hit us up on Telegram at NLTI support. Also, I'll take this opportunity to pitch you our course. NLTI is an initiative run by NLSIU students. We primarily provide mentorship and test series to CLAT aspirants. You like this session must have given you an insight into what mentorship entails. You can't just clear CLAT by cramming the concepts. You really need to have an open mind, and you need someone who has gone through the same journey like you are going through right now, and learning from the experiences makes you better. So this is what NLTI is. We share our experiences, we guide you, we become your best friend throughout your CLAT preparation journey, coupled with that test series, which is solely prepared by NLSIU students. We have recently collaborated with Legal Edge as well, where you get Legal Edge free test series if you enroll with NLTI. So feel free to DM us if you have any doubts regarding our mentorship plan, or if you want to know more about it. Alternatively, you can also check out our new website, clatnlti.com. With this, we'll wrap this session. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Abhinav, for taking out time and uh, entertaining this session. Uh, have a good night, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.